Hey, welcome aboard. Yes, indeed. We're asking the experts all weekend long. You need to tell your friends about this on your social networks. Ask the Expert programs, everything from landscaping to doctors to lawyers to realtors, estate planners, you name it. As the weekend goes on, you can get a real education. This isn't like work to me. It's like getting a free education. I feel like I've got my master's degree in law, real estate, health, finance, mortgage. Hey, how cool is that? All right, this is Law 2020. You've heard the commercials for the BCN Law Firm. Law 2020, right? I'm not a singer, but I play one on the radio. You can always call the BCN Law Firm at 855-LAW-2020 or 352-394-2103. We've always hearing from Wade Boyette, Heath Nailos, and Brian Monk on the air. Each one of these people has their own specialties, and we love it when Heath comes on because he covers parts of the law that the other guys don't cover. If you have a legal question, call it in right now. You don't have to use your real name. That's kind of sensitive, Heath, when people, they're calling a law firm or a law show. They don't want to use their real name, so you don't have to. 855-297-9696, 855-297-9696, or text us at 21232. Okay, Corvettes falling through the floor of a museum up in Kentucky. A house in Lakeland last year disappeared with a homeowner in it. Sinkholes are a part of life in Florida, much like Kentucky, other states with limestone, as much a part of Florida life as love bugs, hurricanes, tornadoes, but still we live in paradise. But how does it work insurance-wise and legally when it comes to a sinkhole situation? And is there a remedy for a neighbor of a sinkhole? Because they might lose value in their home. So what are we looking at here?
Yeah, we are in paradise here in Florida, and today is a great example of it. The weather is perfect today. There's probably no place in the world as nice as it is right now in Florida. But we're stuck with sinkholes in certain parts of Florida. And really from Orlando, Seminole County to the west, we have limestone in the sand. And when the water intrudes there, it causes sinkhole issues, and that sometimes causes problems. Mm-hmm. And most sinkholes aren't big holes that collapse and swallow your house. Most of them are minimal sinkholes that cause settlement damage. But if you're in that house and your tile cracks across the whole living room, then it's a problem.
And one of the things that we see, too, is in many areas, the city, the county, the developer, whatever, will come in and try to remedy the situation with the tools that are needed. And sometimes the individual, like sitting out on a farm, wouldn't have access to those tools. And that is lots of concrete and millions of cubic feet of concrete in some cases.
Correct. It's real hard for the city or the developer to actually figure out if you have a sinkhole ahead of time. But the standard method of repairing a sinkhole home is putting in lots of concrete, and that costs hundreds of thousands of dollars. And the concrete goes where? Who knows? You come back in 2, 3 years, 4 years, it could be gone. And concrete's also biodegradable, so it's not going to fix your foundation forever. It will go away in time. So,
Is there any kind of insurances we can get? I mean, right now there's a big controversy in Florida over flood insurance and needing federal help on that. Is there any kind of like a sinkhole insurance through our friends out there in the insurance industry?
There is a sinkhole insurance coverage. Everybody's got a catastrophic collapse coverage. So if your home falls into a hole, you're covered. Mm-hmm. That's the easy one. You don't need an attorney when your home falls into a big sinkhole.
Right.
They pay your policy limits, and it's easy. The secondary coverage is sinkhole coverage, and it used to be a very good coverage. It was started back in the Winter Park sinkhole back in 1981, I believe. They had a big sinkhole that started over here and swallowed up a bunch of cars and car dealership.
CBS News is right on top of that one, remember?
Right on top of that one. It started a big sinkhole coverage, and they created this coverage, but over time they were spending a lot of money because a lot of houses were covered, and the grout jobs, the concrete jobs were very expensive, so they changed the coverage. So now the homeowners aren't protected as they used to be 3 years ago.
How did it change? What remedy do we have now? How much coverage can we get?
You can get all the coverage you want, but
it cost you money.
It costs you a lot of money, and they did a couple of things that are kind of tricky. One is they put a 10% deductible in your policy, and it's 10% of your total policy limits. So if you have a $300,000 policy and you have a sinkhole claim, and they say, okay, you have a sinkhole, we're gonna fix it, then you've got to write a check for $30,000. And most people can't do that.
Yeah.
Not very fair. And the secondary thing is they made it, instead of testing with geologists, they now use structural engineers to look at the property and say, okay, you may have a sinkhole or may not, but it's not structural in definition. Therefore, we're not going to test it. So if your house is cracking, it's not cracking that bad. So it's kind of a slippery slope there.
Yeah.
Because in 5 years, it may be cracking worse, but you made your claim, and the coverage now is very not worth the money really it's printed on.
Yeah. So when, in your opinion, as a professional attorney, some homes are built in some parts of Florida, and over a period of time, maybe the home builder didn't put enough base down, maybe he didn't compact the soil well enough, and the home will settle. So how does one kind of go about, okay, is my home just settling, or am I on a sinkhole situation here?
Well, it's either or. Either your home is settling or a sinkhole.
Mm-hmm.
There's no other coverage available in Florida.
Wow.
So you're either stuck with one or the other. And, of course, a sinkhole home will affect your property values. The developers can't tell ahead of time what's going on below the ground. It's too expensive. So
there's no way to know in Florida because we're basically on an island of sand, right?
Correct.
And limestone.
In certain parts of
Florida. So you're never going to know.
But you look at certain parts of Florida, the old settlers built in certain places because they had better ground. So some of the developments that have come in the last 20 years have been on karst landscapes that when you drove by them 20 years ago were cow pastures with little round holes around them. And now the little round holes have been filled in and you have houses. And things shift and change, and then you have sinkhole issues.
Well, we went through the years, and you'll remember them, and the guys at BCN will, because you guys have been here forever. I remember the years of people developing Kissimmee on muck.
Correct.
And northerners would come down here and say, I don't know what muck is, so what's the problem?
Yeah, that's called organics. Organics not a sinkhole, but it does cause settlement. Believe it or not, clay in parts of Florida, and Brooksville especially, has clay, and clay will shrink and swell with the rain. So big oak trees will suck the water out of the ground, and your house will collapse.
That's not good.
That's not covered either. So
now, what about, we always hear about in years of hurricanes, we always hear about the oaks get so wet that oak will fall on a home and even destroy the home. What if that tree is in the neighbor's yard?
That could cause a problem, but it is covered, and we can help you out with that one.
Whose insurance has to pay, the neighbor or mine?
Well, you go after the neighbors first, primarily. If they don't pay, then you go after your own insurance company and you subrogate the claim after that. So,
okay, and we always get calls. We had some when you were on before. We get calls from people who say, all right, the neighbor's oak is hanging over my house. What rights do I have on the air over my house?
Not many, but you can trim that tree off there if you need to. So don't be afraid to cut that branch off if it's over your house.
Mm-hmm. So try to make peace first, right?
But don't cut the tree down, please.
Okay, but try to make peace with the neighbor first and say you want to get this done?
Always. I made a mistake one time with a neighbor in Winter Park, and she did never trim the trees, and my father-in-law trimmed some for her one day, and we had a 2-year battle after that one. So,
I bet that wasn't good. You got to keep your neighbors. Okay, we had a caller, and then we just lost our caller. All right, if you have a question for Heath Nailos, he is, of course, from the BCN Law Firm. The name of the show is Law 2020. We welcome your calls right now at 855-297-9696. That's 855-297-9696, or you could text us at 21232 21232. All right. And we're talking right now about calamities of the house and mainly centered on sinkholes, because from time to time in Florida, they become the number one thing in the news. I don't know if that's just because they're spectacular to look at or they're bigger than life, but it is something that does take up, the headlines even internationally. When you get a sinkhole situation, we had the Corvettes falling through up in Kentucky in the arguably the finest Corvette museum in the world, and that has been cured. Whatever happened to the land in Winter Park? Did that become a lake, or what happened?
They just filled it up, I believe.
Really?
There's only so many ways you can fix a sinkhole problem, and one is just put in concrete and sand and fill it up and build over it.
Well, I remember so well watching that on the national news live. I think it was BMWs were falling into that hole, and it was really a tragic sight. It was an amazing thing to see.
Amazing thing to see, but it changed the insurance laws of Florida forever, and now we have sinkhole coverage because of that problem they had there.
Mm-hmm. And we have seen in instances, that if it's caught in time, and you don't, it's a fix. And again, it's the earth, it's Mother Nature, it's the planet. But again, we have seen homes that are still there.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of ways to fix a sinkhole home. One is you can put the concrete grout in the ground and help the surface there. Second way is to underpin the house with metal pins that actually connect down limestone and act as a second foundation in the house. That's the preferred method to repair.
So you've really got it made, I think, if you're in a situation where maybe you have an HOA that helps look after these things, you have a developer that looks after these things, that, for the sake of the area, jumps in and helps, because it is costly, but it is something that we've seen in the news recently to where the house is still there. Everything, part of the yard was gone, but now it's built back up.
And correct, sometimes a underpin house with the metal underpinnings for steel are safer than neighbors' houses because you're built in the same sand, same geography, but you got metal piers going down to limestone around your house, which make your house a lot safer than anybody else's house. Interesting.
We're going to come back with Ronald's phone call, and Gloria is back on the line. If you want to join our callers, it's 855-297-9696, 855-297-9696, or text us at 21232, 21232. You're listening to Law 2020, brought your way every Sunday at this same time, 12 noon, by the BCN Law Firm. I'll give you contact information when we get back. All right, you're listening to News 96.5. All right, welcome back to the show. All right, we are back, and this is Law 2020. That's right, bcnlawfirm.com, or you can just go ahead and call them anytime this week at 352-394-2103. That's 352-394-2103. Or if everybody wants to sing along, it is 855-LAW-2020. Coolest jingle ever. 855-LAW-2020. Now, you're going to be singing that like you do It's a Small World for the rest of the day. Heath, you're involved in a great fundraiser, man, to help our community. When I hear about BCN Law Firm, one of the things I think of is expertise. But number two, it is involved in the community. You guys have been around here for a long time, and you guys are very involved in our Central Florida community.
Thank you. I was invited for some reason to be a participant in the Stepping Out for Education event in Lake County. It raises $30,000+ a year for education, and I was invited to be the celebrity dancer, which obviously they've never seen me dance for, so they made a mistake there.
Wow!
But it's fun. It's going to be fun.
Is that like Dancing with the Stars?
It's like Dancing with the Stars in Lake County, and I'm the star somehow.
And how do we help contribute? What do we do?
Well, look at the BCN website and check out the show, and please attend. I need supporters. I need applause. I'm not a very good dancer, but I'm trying, so I'm looking to win the event, so I really want everybody to be there.
How much fun, and where does the event take place?
It's in Lake Receptions in Tavares.
Oh, yes, very nice.
Yes, and it should be a big crowd. It's going on about 7 years now, and once again, they haven't seen me dance yet, so I'm not sure how I got selected, but I'm looking forward to trying my best. So,
well, you're a celebrity,
I've got some good surprises for everybody.
That is great. And, of course, on the website, they'll tell us how we make our contributions.
Correct. And please attend, everybody. It's going to be a fun event for a great cause. And second, BCN is proud to announce a new attorney has joined our firm. Her name is Cindy Kreider from Kentucky. Her husband's an OBGYN in Winter Garden. And what's neat is she is actually a Kentucky colonel.
I've heard that phrase, but what does that mean?
It's an honorary association of people in Kentucky. I don't know the full details, but my father-in-law, Norman Cummins, in the firm also, is a colonel also. So we have 2 Kentucky colonels in our law firm, which is probably unique in Florida.
That's very famous.
Like Colonel Sanders is a Kentucky colonel. So so we have 2 in one firm is pretty amazing. Yeah,
I in the Lake of the Ozarks region, it's not as internationally known, but you're named to the Legion of Commodores. Okay. And I happen to be a Legion of Commodores. I was there for a long time, but I never knew I never knew the significance of a Kentucky colonel, but that they come with very high respect.
It's very hard to get that honorary thing, but it's pretty cool. So we have 2 colonels in our law firm, which is pretty amazing. And Cindy's gonna be joining Wade in the transactional practice. She's practicing law about 15 years now, and she's looking forward to helping Mr. Boyette out with the transactional work.
Great. And, of course, she probably has some real smiles on her face about the Preakness last night.
She did, because California Chrome won again. And now we have Belmont coming up in a little while and could be a first Triple Crown winner in years. So it's be a lot of fun.
Wow. You know, there's so much Kentucky coverage there, but as a lot of Floridians don't know, is that Marion County, just to our north, the Ocala area, has played a very big part in a lot of the horses that have won in the big races, because a lot of them winter there.
That's horse country and also sinkhole country, too.
Yeah,
I have a lot of sinkhole claims in Marion County, but it is a great horse country, and a lot of the Kentucky and Preakness and Belmont winners have been from that area.
Yeah, I don't know if we can help either of the callers right now. Let me give you the number of the law firm. Ronald has a insurance question, and the other caller has a medical question. And the only thing, if you can't find your doctor and it's been 4 years and the doctor isn't around anymore, what you might want to do is contact the AMA and ask if they're still practicing, or put their name in a search engine. You know, put Dr. McGillicuddy in the search engine and see if it comes up anywhere. But if you want to call the law firm about any questions you've got, different attorneys specialize in different things with the BCN Law Firm. 352-394-2103 or 855-LAW-2020, 855-LAW-2020. Where does the entrance of a legal representation come in a case of a sinkhole or any kind of disaster like that? Is it when the person first initiates damage, or when they start getting trouble from their insurance company?
You're always better to get counsel first, because you give statements to the insurance companies, you talk to them. Sinkhole claims, fire claims, storm claims are all confusing. You need someone who's been there for on your side, otherwise you'll be in trouble.
And do you ever even go as far as people who are really, really detail conscious before they enter into a large sum of money, like buying insurance coverage that they can bring the policy by, and just say, hey, you know, you're my attorneys, take a look at this?
Anytime. I give free consults that every day.
Really?
Yeah. It's my I've had 20 years of dealing with insurance companies, so I know the good ones, the bad ones. And anybody can call me up anytime, get a free consult, and talk about the insurance coverage and kind of explain what you're buying and what you're getting back.
Well, you know, and that raised its ugly, ugly head back in 2004 with hurricanes. And a lot of people don't read their insurance policy and don't have the advice of a Heath. And remember the controversy back then of not one, not two, not three, but 4 hurricanes passed through Central Florida. And the insurance companies, some of them said, hey, you got a deductible each time.
Each loss is a new claim. The reality is no one reads their policy until they have a claim. Until you've been through it once, then you realize what you're doing.
But at least going in, if you've had Heath look over your insurance policy, you know, when you're not surprised by all of a sudden, well, wait a minute. My house was damaged 3 times in 2004, and I've got to come out of pocket. Well, at least you'll be prepared to come out of pocket, or you'll have secondary insurance or some way to handle it. Hey, we're going to come back. You got questions of this type? Just give us a call right now on the air, 855-297-9696. That's 855-297-9696, or text us at 21232. We'll be back. Hey, welcome back to the show. The name of the show is Law 2020. Yeah, we hear from attorneys Wade Boyette, Heath Nailos, and Brian Monk from time to time. Next week, Brian's going to be on, and he always talks about things that deal with, criminal law and things like that, Heath?
Yes, criminal law and family law, which is always very hot topics.
Very much. And you specialize at the law firm in exactly what?
My background is more personal injury and insurance work. So from auto accidents to sinkholes to hurricanes to fire, I've handled that 20 years now. So we have a lot of experience there. Okay.
And of course, with Wade?
Wade's background is more transactional in nature. He does some litigation, but it's more probate litigation, LLCs, real estate, a very diverse background.
Very cool. So when you go to the law firm, I mean, everybody's got a great knowledge of the law in the firm, but each one of them specializes in something that can help you out quite a bit. You ever want to get a hold of them during the week? It's very easy. It's 855-LAW-2020. 855-LAW-2020.
I'm sorry, we have 10 attorneys, so everybody's got their own background. So
wow.
Part of my job is to find out who's got the right background for the case and make sure the client gets the right person.
Mm-hmm. And, of course, if you want to dial direct, if you're out near the Clermont area, it's 352-394-2103, 352-394-2103. I say out by Clermont. I mean, it's part of the metro now. I can remember when it wasn't. But now, Clermont, that's just another neighborhood right here in the camp. But what a great town and what a community-oriented town.
It really is. We're a suburb of Orlando now. We handle cases from really Tampa to Ocala to Daytona. So throughout Central Florida, we have clients everywhere.
Let's get around to this insurance thing because there's been more and more publicity recently about injury claims and insurance claims and hospitalization claims. And there was a call on one of the legal shows yesterday where a gentleman was talking about being found at fault in a rear-end collision. And he felt that he wasn't at fault. But isn't this a no-fault state? So I'm not sure how that entered into the thing.
Well, that's a very tricky word. Being found at fault means the officer gave him a ticket. The ticket's not admissible in trial, so you have your right to try the case if you want to about liability. No fault is a totally separate issue. No fault's been around since '74. There used to be about 30 states with no fault coverage. No fault means your own insurance company pays your PIP benefits. That's it. It comes with burdens and benefits, and they pay up to $10,000 typically in medical treatment. So you go see a doctor, the doctor bills the insurance company, and they get paid. It's meant to be a fair thing, so you can go find a doctor, get treated, and get better.
Mm-hmm.
But it's gotten very complicated now, and every year they try to get rid of it, and every year they say it's because of fraud, they're going to change it, but the premiums never go down, but the coverage shrinks every year. So it's a very funny thing.
So tell me how it is that who pays after the first 10,000?
Then you're on your own. Then you try to get money from the other insurance company. If you're not at fault, if someone hits you, first you go primary as your own PIP coverage. Then you turn over and try to make a claim against the other side's bodily injury coverage and get compensated for your pain and suffering, unpaid medical bills, future medical bills, lost wages, all items of damages you put on the board at trial. Okay,
and how do they figure the pain and damage part of it? I mean, a doctor's bill is a doctor's bill, but somebody gets hit, their neck hurts, their back hurts, they've had nerve damage, nerve pain, which seems to manifest itself not in the first week. It seems to manifest itself over a period of months. So how are they compensated?
That's the tricky part. A lot of times based upon the medical records, MRIs, what the doctors say, what kind of appearance the client makes as a witness. Has she had 4 prior motor vehicle accidents or not? If she's not, then great. How old is the client? All factors you consider when you try to figure out what the pain service is worth. Okay, and one of the real slippery slopes that I've been studying a lot lately is this 14-day rule. A lot of people take the 14-day rule much too lightly, in my opinion, and that is that you have to be seen by a medical professional within 14 days. But doesn't it go far beyond that? I mean, you being an attorney, doesn't it go way beyond that when the insurance companies look at it and say, well, Josh was in an accident. He saw a doctor. The doctor set his leg. He had a broken leg. He had a broken arm. And he had a laceration, which they stitched up. It wasn't until 4 weeks later they found something else wrong with his neck. Correct.
And isn't the neck problem not covered anymore?
It's a slippery slope now. It was meant for, I think they had good intentions when they did this, because some people would go see a doctor 2 years after an accident and say, my back hurts, and then they bill the PIP. And obviously that may not sound right. But a lot of my clients now, they get hurt to a car accident, they call a doctor, and the doctor can't get them in until 20 days later. So then what do? Then you have to go choose a secondary doctor to get you in quicker, and just makes the whole thing more complicated. 14 days is too short of a period of time to really decide what's wrong, what's right.
So, in other words, the doctor has to be on top of this law more than anybody, because he has got to know all the possible prognoses to hand in that first 14 days?
Correct. If I refer my client to a doctor, I've got to make sure they get in the right period of time to make sure they get treated properly, and they've got to understand that.
Okay, very good. So if you have questions about anything having to do with an accident or having to do with bodily injury and who's going to pay the bills and possible pitfalls, things that you may or may not do wrong, give us a call right now at 855-297-9696, 855-297-9696. What all is covered, Heath? I mean, is lost wages covered? Is loss of ability to, let's say you belong to a health club, and the health club you got a contract with the health club, but your doctor's telling you can't go there anymore for the next year or 2 years. Well, it's costing you $60 a month to belong to whatever fitness out there.
The easy one is lost wages, covered at 60% of your lost wages. So obviously you're better off working, but they will pay 60% if you verify with your employer. The health club one's a little bit trickier. I've litigated cases before where the doctor prescribed a hot tub to my clients, and the insurance company didn't pay for it, so we had to fight about that one for several years and got it paid eventually.
Wow. So actually they had to pay for that, huh?
They paid for the hot tub eventually, yes. It took a while.
Okay, so when we see or hear about some of the findings that people may get, now that finding, if they say, okay, I came out of an accident and I got $100,000, is that $100,000 minus the attorney fees, minus the doctor fees, minus the gym fee, minus the hot tub fee, whatever it might be?
That's typically $100,000 total, I would imagine. The Supreme Court of Florida recently came back out and said you can't advertise that way anymore. They opened the door up for about 6 months or a year, and we had a lot of billboards in town, and they recently said, no, it's not appropriate advertising, and the billboards now are being reskinned, and they're redone. So,
okay, very good. Let me ask you this. Henry's on the line. Henry has an interesting question about sinkholes. Cool, Henry. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead, Henry.
I have a neighbor who has I guess like a leak in their pool for the last few years. And I always see them have their hose into the pool to make up the loss of water. My concern is this leak into the ground over the years can create a sinkhole for them and can affect us as a neighbor or not.
Well, Henry, any time water flows downward in Florida, it can called raveling conditions. It could cause a sinkhole issue, but a leak in the pool, it'd be hard to cause a sinkhole from that. But I'm not an engineer, but I would not, unless you see big settlement damage in your house, I would not be too worried about that.
Okay.
Okay, very good, Henry. Thank you so much for the call. If you ever needed an opinion, go ahead during the week. You can call the BCN Law Firm at 352-394-2103. That's 352-394-2103 or 855-LAW-2020, 855-LAW-2020. If you get on your search engine, just enter BCN Law Firm and you will be directed to their site. All right, let's go to James in Deltona. James, how can we help you?
Yes, I was in an accident in January, and I just found out the person that caused the accident claimed fault, and they have a limit of $10,000. But the vehicle I was in, I was a passenger, has a $300,000 limit. How long did it take to usually go after that? Because I'm up in the air now with the doctor saying, I might have to have surgery if this physical therapy and rehab doesn't work.
Well, great question, James. The first step is to get the $10,000 primary coverage. And once you get that, you've got to make sure you don't waive your uninsured motorist coverage rights by sending out the proper letters. So please see an attorney for that. But you have 4 years from the day of the accident to settle the case, if not, or file a lawsuit either way.
Okay.
But please, if you accept the $10,000, talk to an attorney first. Please call our office or somebody else. But don't take the $10,000 BI without doing the right paperwork. Make sure you don't waive the UM coverage.
The UM coverage?
Yes, sir, or the BI coverage.
Okay.
The other car. So, yes, please be careful with that one. It's a bit tricky.
Okay, and does that, if it goes against the vehicle that I'm in that has that under insurance?
Yes, sir.
Does that affect their deductibles or payments later on?
No, the claim's already there, so you're just making your claim under the policy. So,
okay,
it's an optional coverage, and they paid for it, so you need to be compensated for it.
Okay, I appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Okay, and we are taking your calls right now at 855-297-9696. That's 855-297-9696. 9696. Roger in Orlando, welcome to the show. Thank you for taking part.
Yes, sir. I was a pedestrian in an accident. The other insurance company's at fault. They sent me the $10,000, which I haven't cashed yet, but I have $500 deductible medical payments with my insurance company. Does the other insurance company pick up my deductible $500 PIP?
No, they don't, Roger.
I have to pay that myself out of pocket.
Correct. Most doctors will negotiate that with you, though, so please...
and then I have to make sure before I cash this $10,000 check that I'm not waiving my uninsured motorist rights.
Correct. Yes, sir.
And how do I do that? I just send a letter to them and say, I'm accepting this, but I'm not waiving my uninsured. I have to get them to send me a letter.
Please call me or another attorney tomorrow for that explanation, because you can waive your rights. I don't want you to do that, so please call me or somebody else tomorrow.
I see. What's your name again?
My name's Heath Nailos. I'm the managing partner in BCN Law Firm.
Okay.
And if you do this wrongly, you can waive some rights, and it's very easy to do the right way. So.
I see. All right. Thank you so much.
Anytime, sir. Anytime.
Thank you.
Okay, and here's a number, Roger, that you'll want to use first thing in the morning. You can call Heath. That's Heath Nailos at 352-394-2103, or just simply go 855-LAW-2020, 855-LAW-2020. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, more of your calls, more of your text. And all you need to do to call the show is 855-297-9696. That's 855-297-9696, or text us at 21232. How do you do that? Just go to the recipient line, the address line in your smartphone or your smart device, and just put in the numbers, 21232. It's as simple as that. It's not the way you usually would send a text, but this is a computer text, not a phone text, all right? But you can do it from your phone messaging service, 21232. We'll be back on News 96.5. Hey, we're back. We are 6 minutes away from the very latest in news, traffic, and weather, and we've got the newsroom fully stocked with people that are handling the news for you. Charnel's in there, and we got Dave Wall, veteran newscaster. The guy has been doing news in Central Florida for 92 years. I'm just kidding, Dave. Dave's been around here almost as long as I have, and I've been here 30 years in this building, but he hadn't been here quite that long. Anyway, this is Law 2020. Wade Boyette, Heath Nailos, Brian Monk are our regular panel members, and we have Heath Nailos with us today, and he can help you out with all matters insurance and claims and things like that. We're lining up a call right now with Eric, who's on the line, but we'll also invite you to text us with your question at 21232, 21232. If you do have a question for Heath, you do not have to use your real name, okay? But get started. Make sure you have proper counsel to represent you. All right. During the week, you can reach these guys and all the associates at the BCN Law Firm. You can reach them at 855-LAW-2020. That's 855-LAW-2020. So you can give them a call first thing in the morning and all week, and you have got it made. All right. Back to our conversation of the laws in Florida. We were talking right before the break about the compensation that you get and those that don't do any compensation. What about the process? Does every major claim go to a trial, or what happens when you're making a claim against somebody else's insurance company for compensation?
Well, most claims get settled pre-suit, but a certain percentage have to go to litigation. And once you get in litigation, then a certain percentage go to trial. Mm-hmm. But every insurance company treats their cases differently. Some companies I never have to sue because they pay fair value. Other ones I see them and said, "Oh boy, we're getting ready for a lawsuit pretty quick," because I know they're not going to pay anything. So
when you say the word fair value, by way of explanation, does that mean they look over the doctor's diagnosis, they look at it for credibility, and then they pretty well have a dollar sign that in your mind as representing Josh and their mind as knowing they're going to get sued, that they have something pretty good, a similar amount?
Correct. They review the medical records, the bills, look at the facts of the accident, look at my client's age, prior health conditions, and at some point they assign a value to the case. And I negotiate with them to find out what their maximum value is. And sometimes it's fair based upon my almost 20 years experience. Sometimes it's not even close to being fair. In those cases, we move the case litigation pretty quickly.
Okay. And even when you go to litigation, does that automatically end up in a courtroom, or does that sometimes spur the other side to say, well, we're going to settle this thing?
A lot of times we end up doing paper discovery, taking depositions, going to mediations, and try to get it settled that way. If not, we get a trial date.
All right, very good. And how is that trial done? Is that between a judge or a mediator or a jury?
It's a jury trial, which means it's tough to get that date. And when you get it, it's you're one of 20 cases on the docket that day, and you hope you get the trial date.
Okay, here is a text. When does the medical emergency determination need to be made? Is it the beginning of treatment, or can it be established later on?
It needs to be established quickly.
Within that first 14 days, right?
Yes, sir.
So if it's a soft tissue injury, you better have a good doctor on your side. And do you work with doctors that you can recommend to a litigant?
We do, and I'll bring one on next time as a guest of our panel next time. But we work with certain doctors who understand how this works and also give great medical care.
That is so important. And the other thing is, I do know for a fact, having been through it, that oftentimes right after an accident, every possible insurance company that had anything to do with anything that day calls you.
They call you and call you and call you. Once I get involved, they stop calling you. They call me. Yeah. So it makes your life a lot easier. You can focus on getting better, following the doctor's advice, getting the treatment, and don't worry about the insurance companies. What is your advice to anybody that gets a call from any insurance company, even their own, post-accident? Well, as you know, most attorneys give free consults. Take advantage of it. Talk to an attorney. And to find an attorney, please talk to your friends, your peers, people in the community. Find someone who does a good job, who's respected, and take their advice because they're there to help you. All right. Hey, when you get the initial call the first day, you haven't found the attorney yet, but should you tell the insurance company, I refuse to talk to you right now, I'm seeking advice from an attorney? You just be nice to them and say, sure. I want to talk to an attorney first. I'll call you back in a couple of days. Just be cooperative, right? Be cooperative. Don't cause big friction with them, but just say, I want to talk to my counsel first. Okay, very good. And your counsel can walk you through it step by step, all the way through all of the conversations that need to be had. Hey, I want to give you the contact information once again. It's BCN Law Firm, very community-based. 352-394-2103, 352-394-2103. Go to the website and support Heath Nailos and support education in Lake County with their Dancing with the Stars competition. How cool is that? We're going to continue to ask the experts all day long right here on News 96.5.